What's up? It's Phil with Igniter Media here. I had a chance a couple of weeks ago to talk with my friend Ryan Howell from Watermark Community Church about a few of the things they're working on. And one of the things that I thought was especially interesting was the way they go about choosing what visuals they use during worship. I have a few specific thoughts on that, but check out what Ryan had to say right here. I'm here with my friend Ryan Howell from Watermark Community Church. How you doing, Ryan?
Good, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Why don't you tell us about what you do at Watermark?
I am the arts director at Watermark Community Church in Dallas, Texas, which simply means I have oversight over the worship and the tech production teams in Dallas.
Okay, cool. Little known fact about Ryan, or maybe not little known, but his son is the star of Igniter Media's biggest mini movie on YouTube. You can check it out on our channel right now. Not right now. Keep watching this video, and then you can check it out, okay? All right, before we get started talking about worship backgrounds and how you guys use them, why don't you tell me a little bit about what y'all's setup looks like on stage and tech and that kind of thing?
Sure. At our Dallas campus, we have a 100-foot wide stage. It's about 50 feet deep, 26 feet tall, and all of our scenic elements are front projection operated by our lighting designer.
Okay, so that's a pretty huge stage
It's
in
very
terms
big.
of probably what most people are used to. All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about how you guys landed on that decision to minimize the use of motion backgrounds in worship?
Sure. So not always, but we found that because we've got a culture of feedback, we're often asking folks what their experience was on a weekend, what we might keep, what we might get rid of. Motion was oftentimes a moment where folks were distracted in a set. That could be because the tempo was not quite right for the moment. It could be that there was a lot of flashy movement. And so we stepped away from motion completely for a season.
Okay. Now, you wouldn't say that you are completely against it, right? Like,
not at all.
In fact, there are probably moments where it's appropriate. In fact, at the CLC a couple years ago, why don't you describe the setup there?
Sure. So our opener for the CLC was a big 5-screen video. From that video, which told the story of the history of the church, we went right into a worship song. That whole thing was produced as one long video, and it was lyric video. So there was a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving text, all to support that big opener.
Well, before we go, if you had one thing to say to someone who's new in the media ministry or was trying to push the creative envelope and getting pushback to that, how would you encourage them?
That's a great question. I think what I would say is collaborate. So sometimes as artists, we want to push our own agenda. We've got this idea that we want to do. On the flip of that, if our communicator that we're trying to support has an idea and they clash, then we have to give way to whatever the message is they're trying to convey. And so I think the best success we've had at Watermark is whenever we get to work together with whoever's speaking, with a little bit of leeway and a little bit of time to really amplify and augment whatever they're trying to communicate.
That's cool. So it sounds like feedback and communication are integral in that process.
Absolutely.
And not just with leadership, but with the congregation and the church as well, right?
Yes, without question.
Thanks so much for being here, Ryan. It's been awesome. If you're interested in what's going on at Watermark Community Church, check them out at watermark.org or at the CLC. What's the?
Churchleadersconference.com.
Churchleadersconference.com. Go to it. You'll be blessed by it. So, if someone were to ask you why your church uses the backgrounds it does during worship, what would you say? I don't think a lot of churches have a good answer for that. And I want to challenge you to be intentional and deliberate in the backgrounds you choose because it can make a huge difference in your worship service. To help you guys out, I wrote about 4 things I think you need to be considering when you're choosing your worship backgrounds. You can check those out over here at our blog. Leave us a comment and let us know what you use, still or motion backgrounds, and don't forget to subscribe. Many thanks to Ryan for being here, and thank you for watching.